vicinity, there is no other four-star general. It is only Francis Omondi Ogolla. And he ceases becoming a four-star general when he's interred. Generals don't die, they just fade away. And his sword, the ceremonial sword he used to carry, his heart, signifying his seniority, as well as the robe around his waist, will be handed to the family alongside the Kenyan flag, and probably even the Kenya Defence Forces flag will be handed over to the family as souvenirs for the remembrance of the works and the tour of duty of General Francis Omondi Ogolla, who spent 40 years of his life dedicated to the service of country and is what you say for God and country. 40 years of his life really focused on the protection of the sovereignty of the Republic of Kenya. Look at how he dies on a tour of duty. Is a general who dies while working. Is quite an interesting end to his life at this point. So those are live pictures. The convoy is headed to General Ogolla's home in Moore village of Siaya County. It is in Alego Songa constituency, Alego constituency. That is where he will be interred. And you've heard stories of how he interacted with the locals, the rural folk in that village, sometimes even being challenged to be posh, like he's synonymous with the people around that region. But then he chooses simplicity over being too boisterous or being bossy. And that is who General Francis Omondi Ogolla was. From here, after the interment, of course, it is within the purview of the president to decide when to make promotions in the offices, or rather to make promotions and to tell Kenyans who the next CDF would be, although it appears like it's cast in stone owing to the Tonja rules, as is said. But for now, what should preoccupy the minds of Kenyans is to send home General Francis Ogolla to his final rest. A man who was a staunch Christian, believed in God. And in the sermon that has widely been shared in social media, it gives you a story of a man probably who had a premonition. But you get a sense that the general was always prepared for death. Always prepared for death. Those, by the way, in the convoy there are special forces of the Kenya Defence Forces. The men you see running alongside the hearse are not just your usual men. They are from a special squad in the Kenya Defence Forces. They are special forces within the rank and file of the Kenya Defence Forces. This is them again giving their last honor to a man they called commander. And that is General Francis Ogolla, giving their last respects to that man who they called commander, and doing that round with him, albeit in the hearse. And that is a sign of respect and honor to the general. So we continue to await the arrival of the body at his rural home in Moore village of Alego Songa in Siaya County. And that will be the kickoff of the last respects ceremony by the Kenya Defence Forces. They've organized quite a meticulous ceremony that will begin with a procession, as is now, and then there will be the last post tune being hummed by the Kenya Defence Forces officers in that trumpet. And then a 19-gun salute, an interment of a body, the laying of wreath, and that will be the end of a ceremony. The curtains will come down absolutely on the life of General Francis Omondi Ogolla, one of Kenya's illustrious sons, a man who has shattered the glass ceiling over time to be where he is. A story we were being told in the morning by Colonel Shava, who was with us this morning. He was telling us about a man who turned up for interviews at the Kenya Air Force officers at Moi Air Base. Turned up there with saddles, probably in slippers. Turned up for that interview. Even the shoes he used in the succeeding days were borrowed from his friend. A man who came from a very humble background, abject poverty, but then has risen through the ranks to lead one of the most respected militaries in the continent of Africa, and that is the Kenya Defense Forces. From that humble background, from this rural village, you see, to leading the Kenya Defense Forces, one of the most respected militaries in the continent of Africa. That is the life of General Francis Omondi Ogolla. At the gravesite, the members of the Kenya Defense Forces continue to prepare for the arrival of that body and the interment, and it's a meticulous arrangement, really, of what will transpire there. How long will it take? I doubt it will even take more than 20 minutes, because the military executes its ceremonies with precision, and that is how it ought to be. And therefore, we continue to await the arrival of the body of General Francis Omondi Ogolla at his rural home in Moore Village. It's a ceremony not open to members of the public, owing to a limited space and the request of the family that the have that exclusivity and time to bury their loved one. The only probably people from outside the close-knit family that will be there are probably the president, the deputy president, the minister for defense, the prime cabinet secretary, probably a select number of cabinet secretaries, as well as a select number of opposition leaders who will be there. Interestingly, today, the Honorable Raila Odinga has not made it to the burial in Siaya, but he attended the military event yesterday at the Ulinzi Sports Ground in Langata. He paid his tribute, and today his greetings were delivered by his brother, the Honorable Oburu Odinga. And Siaya is the native county of the Honorable Raila Odinga. The body has arrived, I think, yes, at the home of General Ogolla. And that is his native home, and the body has arrived. So I bet you can listen in a bit.